We're back.
Yes, and so this morning we have with us, excuse me, we have with us the Association of Real Estate Brokers of Belize. We have Hugo Mogel, who is the president, as well as Mr. Frick de Meyer,
Yes.
who is the director of the association. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to have you. And of course, we're here to talk about the real estate industry in Belize. And jumping right into it, one of the key issues that we brought up during the break has to do with regulations and regulating this this business.
Yeah.
So let's start there by talking about that uphill battle and why we see the need for this this business to be regulated here in Belize.
Yeah. First of all, this industry, brings in a lot of revenue to the country, has a huge impact in our economy. It goes really hand in hand with tourism and also with development, local development and investment. That's really our capital market, real estate, right? And it's a shame that it's an unregulated industry, right? And it's very alarming given how big this industry has gotten and how important it is to our industry. So our association was formed back in 2007, and since then we've been working on developing a real estate bill, right? Working with it, with the stakeholders, with the members, right? With the industry players, so to speak, right? In developing the laws and regulations that would make sense for our market, right?
Yeah. So go ahead.
And
sorry.
so it's something that has been developed over time, but also the industry itself has evolved, right? So there are things that you have to look at right now, as how things are right now, and also look down the road and say, hey, that's coming, that needs to be addressed. So that's where we are right now. We're right in the final stages. So from here now is stakeholder consultations, getting down to the real details and how this will affect different things, and make sure that we have the best bill possible.
Go ahead.
Yeah, every industry in the country or in every country has an association, there's things to discuss, there's things to address, and the pressure 10 years ago was way less. The real estate market in Belize was much smaller. It has, multifold grown in all these years. Even we estimate that we don't have the exact numbers, but we think even in the last 3-4 years it almost quadrupled in sales volume. And that's not just the international market, right? We have two big markets. There's the tourists that come in to buy and invest, and then there's the local market. But there's a huge local market now, has access to mortgages, want to buy a home, they move together, they go to Balmopan, they get a job, they want to buy a land, they want to build a house there. So the market has grown a lot. And so we see that it's hundreds, literally hundreds of new brokers or real estate agents have started up. A lot of them small, in the smaller villages. There was never a need in the past, but now, more and more people want to sell something, sell a piece of land. So, somebody stepped up and want to start that industry, and then or want to start that business, and then they're like, okay, but what are the rules? Where can I get a training? What are the regulations? Because they don't want to do anything illegal. It's not like 10 years ago you could just fill out one piece of paper, go to lands department, and register a transfer. There's a lot more to it right now. With the financial industry has changed a lot. Yeah.
I heard you very clearly make a distinction between agent and broker. Do you want to clarify that?
Yes, I know you want to go into agent and brokers. Yeah, no. It's not regulated. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
It gives
If I want to become a real estate agent tomorrow, I can.
Yes,
you can.
correct.
Like, there's nothing that stops me.
Exactly. So this is the thing. I mean, you have to see what a big responsibility that is. People are just saying, okay, you just sell. No,
I'm thinking
you're
commission.
advising your clients.
Yeah.
You're thinking commission, but we're also thinking, listen, this is the most valuable asset our client owns, their home, right?
Okay.
Or their property that they've invested in
Huge
years, or
investments.
maybe their family owned and they inherited. It's their biggest investment. So they're depending on you as their agent to advise them properly. What's the proper value? What's the highest value I can gain from this property? And what's the highest and best use? Should we sell it? What price? Should I lease it instead? these are serious questions, right? So your advisor, I mean, they're very impactful in people's lives. So it's a very, very serious position. Now the distinction, right? There is a model between a broker and an agent. The agent represents the clients directly, right? The broker runs the company that the agents work through.
Okay.
So ultimately, the broker is responsible for his or her agents, right? So the agent now, you can start out as an agent, gain the experience, right? But you have to have a lot of experience and background to be able to then run a company to deal with compliance, make sure your agents are working appropriately, proper training, dealing with complaints, all these things. So that's that distinction. And that actually came to, it's used as an American model, but we consulted with other associations that have enacted the bill regionally. And yeah, 100% go for the broker agent. You don't want thousands of agents just running loose. You want,
and that's
a
the whole
smaller
problem
number
right
of
now.
brokers.
There's no regulation. Nobody
Yeah.
tells you who is who. There's no official definition set of who can do what, right? And
So
what's the
the-
responsibility of
The
people.
level of compliance and professionalism and training is all left to the broker itself, if an agent works with a broker.
Yeah,
Because
correct.
there's nothing really that
Yeah,
governs.
and that's it. And the smaller agents that want to start local markets, they are looking to get that guidance from above, right? Through an association, through another brokerage, because they want to make sure that they advise the clients legally. Can you just wire money from here to there? No, there's a whole bunch of regulations from central bank, financial intelligence unit, that you can't just wire money in and out the country like that. 2 weeks ago, we also did like a regional meeting. So we invited as many brokers as we know, because there is no official final list. All the people that we know, we invited them for a regional meeting, Toledo, Stand Creek area. And it was, again, surprising how positive the response was. Everybody like, oh my God, this is a good idea. Yes, we need this. We have issues to discuss. Some new regulations at the lands department, some new things here, and people want to discuss it. They want to be updated about it. And so exchanging information between the brokers too, what is the system? Can that be, exchanging each other's listings, each other's properties. All these brokers really want to communicate a lot more and need a central platform, need a central association, and that's what we're all working on.
So let me ask the question from the buyer's perspective. I think when you see, if I'm looking to make a purchase, we've seen enough stories ventilated within the media of nefarious land deals, of not having enough due diligence. And it very often happens with Belizeans living in the diaspora, because they're not home to know what the true value is of a property in X area versus Y area. What's the all the details about the property. So having an association is one way of kind of building in that professionalism, I would hope.
Absolutely.
Is that the goal?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we've noted is when people are not living here, right, and are looking for representation, excuse me, they go to the website, AREBB.com, AREBB.com. They go to the website and they do the search, and this website comes out, and they go and they see, hey, number one, there's an association. Number two, here are the members. So right off the bat, you're in that list, right? It's a validation for you, right? It's a big plus. And then we've gotten inquiries as well about certain members, and we've also gotten complaints, sometimes by people that are not members, right? So we've set up a form to address those, because even though we don't have, the formal rules and regulations, I mentioned before, we do have accepted standards, right? And so we can address that in writing and try to assist as much as we can. But again, you can't just make false accusations or just any kind of, you got to back up and send us some information so the board can review and then decide on how to address it. So yes, we are covering that.
So we're trying to operate as much already as an official association, as a regulated industry, but we're not there officially, right? And that's where we need to go.
Just one more from the seller's point of view.
Sure.
What's my benefit of using a real estate broker?
You get the advice, the knowledge from years of experience, right? This, like any other business, right? You gotta know what you're doing, you're honing in, and you're bringing that experience to the table as an agent to advise your client. maybe the client might not have realized the real value of their property, right? May not have realized that perhaps there is income earning potential. That's something. If you can't sell it right now, maybe you can rent a piece of it, lease a section of it, right? These are all things that benefit a client, a seller also, because we have a network now within the organization, right? I may not have a buyer for you, but maybe Frick knows someone, right? And I can present it, and that's something else we're working on right now on the MLS system, that then Frick will see, oh, this property is available, this is perfect for my client in Placencia who now wants to move to Belize City. Then we do the deal together.
Yeah, so exchanging all the listings, because now where do you go look for
Yeah.
something, right? Well, you go search on Facebook, you know, but you can't really search there, right? So people really need a system that say, hey, I want to sell this and I want the widest exposure. And then if they go to a broker, they know that this broker will share this with other brokers as well. And then so you get the widest, you know, the widest reach.
And there's
right?
sellers too that sometimes don't want their property advertised. So who do you go to? The guy or the lady that knows buyers, or may know someone that would be interested in it. We do a ton of deals
and
like
all the
that.
brokers have different focus. You know, some are more focused on international marketing, you know, to get foreign investors in. Other brokers are really focused on, you know, the Belize City market, the Belmopan market. You know, so that's all different people to reach, right?
Yeah.
And there's not one broker for all. That doesn't exist,
Yeah.
right? So if you have, as a seller, a piece of farm, you know, 20 acres you want to sell, well, who's going to be your buyer? You don't know. Could be anybody. Could be
Put a
some,
word of mouth,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
So-
you'll put up a sign, but then you're
but
doing
the-
your job
but
and
that
then you're
Ameri-
answering the calls.
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
American
Can you do that?
investor is not driving by your sign
Yeah.
in there. No, he's going online and calling a broker in Belize and say, "Hey, this is what I'm looking for. What do you have?" So it's really, you know, centralizing all that information and on optimizing the information exchange, and then, you know, regulating it. That's a really, really, really important one. You know, that people that have bad intentions there or are not doing their work properly, at least that it can be trained, that it can be addressed. Yeah.
How much will regulation, and I don't want to say the word control, but how much will it influence deciding market value?
Regulation won't affect that.
No, I don't think so.
So who decides the value,
the
right?
market decides the value. You know, something is only worth what the market is willing to pay for it, right? And us as active sellers, right,
You want
need
to
to know
sell,
that,
yeah.
right? And we can show that, right, with a database through the MLS that we're developing. You will see a record of sales, a history of sales. So you can prove to your client, listen, this is why I'm advising you to start at this price. And maybe if we get
Which
it
is
here,
always lower
it's
than what somebody
reasonable.
wants, right?
Well, no,
Typically.
they usually higher. The
Sell.
buyer usually wants a lower
Yeah.
price,
Yeah.
right? So us as brokers, you gotta manage that balance,
Yeah.
right? You gotta be fair, as fair, because you gotta get the highest price possible, right? And the best price that the buyer can get. So there's a fair balance. that
I
you
mean,
need to know.
I've seen situations where you look at a property being marketed and you say, there's no way that can cost that much in that area.
And you know what? Yes, that happens too, because you have sellers that just say, listen, I know what my property is worth.
This is what I paid, this is what I invested.
And, yeah, and
But
then-
we don't have zoning in the country.
Well, in certain sections
Says
there
there
is,
is,
but the
there's
thing
zoning.
is that when a seller demands this price, you give them a break, because you say, listen, I'll put it out in the market. We'll go with your price. Let's start there, right? And then we can reassess it after 6 months. Let's see how the market reacts. You don't get any phone calls, any inquiries. Hey, I told you from the beginning, right? So
Or if five offers come in at a totally different price in the same range,
Yeah.
then the seller will
That's
also
telling
know
you.
what the market value
Yeah.
is. And that is also why the association is so important, that brokers can reach out to each other if they're getting a listing in a certain area, that they can reach out to each other. Hey, what do you think it's worth? What do you think it's worth, right? So because, again, every area in Belize has different, you know, knowledge that you need to have, right?
And how much does external issues impact the value of a property? We talk very often about situations like things in crime in the country. We know traffic, we know access, all of these things. How much do they influence the value?
No, the effects are tremendous if
Yeah,
it's
that's-
economic, regulatory, crime. You know, I could tell you, we track these things and we could see where inquiries come in, right? Which are interest, you know, from buyers, right? And when you have a crime event that's highly publicized, you see a direct impact. I'm
Wow.
telling you, we track it, we see it. And you can have regulatory measures to that then, okay, if there's more risk involved, right, for a buyer, they'll pad their risk, they'll hedge their risk. So, you know, they're gonna offer you less than they would have if this wasn't the case. You know, so yes, that's part of it, being able to look down the road and see where certain things could become problematic for the industry, affect values, and at the end of the day, affect the bottom line for clients, right?
And again, that's why an association is important, right? That we can get together and address certain matters centrally, right?
Yeah.
So to put pressure to governing bodies to say like, hey, if we have problems, right, that we get there together, not just like, you know,
Have a
wild
collective
individuals,
stance, yeah.
spitting our problems out on Facebook or another media, but just saying like, hey, we're an association, this is a problem that we have, this needs to be addressed, right?
What would you say is the biggest issue facing your industry right now?
Man, we got a lot.
The fact that the bill has not been
The-
passed
the
yet.
bill.
That's one of them, but you
But
know
it's
what's
aware.
happening is there is a growing recognition of the value of our industry.
Yes.
When the epidemic hit, right? We put out a letter and we said, listen, because we knew we could still perform, we could still bring in a lot of foreign exchange. Remember, foreign exchange dried up. We were in a serious situation, right? We were able to transact still. We don't have to move around. We can do these things virtually. The banks were still open, right? Remember that, right? And so I said, listen, but there are bottlenecks in the system, right? We need to address these bottlenecks. You let us work, we'll bring in the foreign exchange that you need. And by the way, in terms of income for the government, stamp duties, when you calculate it, the base stamp duty on a sale, on a transaction is 5%. For foreign buyers is 8%, right? And some real estate, some transactions actually incur GST. So that's another 12.5%. You start to do the math on that, that's over 20%. And then everybody in that transaction, the broker, the surveyor, the attorney, everybody that did a part of that transaction earned income, but also paid their income tax and GST. So, you know, there was a growing recognition. We had a major law, it changed to kind of ease things out for us as well. And then, you know, there were also some changes within the
Yeah, so-
MNRE. But sorry, that's the biggest risk, that a decision be made without proper consultation and foresight, and then it affects, and then we have to start from the ground up again.
I mean, you triggered a thought for me, because how involved are you in the digitization process for government? Because that's a key part of being able to conduct business efficiently.
Yeah, well, we're mainly depending, or most of the paperwork goes through Lands Department. It's a very key department, and I think that's probably then in line together with the financial and the banking challenges. It's probably for a lot of people another big challenge, right? To like, oh my God, which papers, the procedures have changed, where do we go? It's not that easy to work, you know, and get complicated paperwork through lands. People have lost their title, people have passed away in the family. You know, all this paperwork needs to get updated, and that's where we see in the industry that most individuals that want to sell their property, like as a seller, they need guidance like, okay, well, here I have a document from my grandpa, you know, for the land, but how do I get this updated? Because you can't sell it like that. You know, the title need to be updated, taxes need to be updated. Sometimes you need updates from the court approvals and stuff. So, and that is where, you know, big challenges are, getting the people through the paperwork, right? And that's the same thing. So we, like as an industry, like to give our advice and our input to the government. and digitization is a part of it. Like how can we get these things done faster and better? Like the company registry is a good example as well. We work a lot with companies, people that buy and sell through companies, and there a lot of things have changed already in the last years.
It's a work in progress, but companies registry was a major upgrade in digitizing, right, and having everything scanned and electronic, right? And now the next biggest one is central bank in terms of our applications and submissions to central bank notifications, and we were part of that conversation. You know, they invited us in, and we shared our points, they shared theirs, and we worked together in developing that. So we're very proud of that and hope to see that movement continue. Right?
And so I think the one element we haven't discussed, and so it's a good close for us, it's for people who are interested in pursuing this as a career. You know, you talk about a growing industry, that means you'll need more people who are properly trained. Do they sign up to be a part of the association? Do you have a entry-level membership, and how do they ensure that they're best trained to be a real estate agent broker?
So yes, so we have a membership page where you can apply completely online, right? The application is vetted by the board and then approved, and you become a member. Through networking, you can, just like Frick referred earlier, you can ask your questions, you know, find a broker friend. You can also say, hey, let me start working with an established company, right? You can work as an agent for an established company, have your ambitions to have your own company at some point, but you need to get that experience first from the ground up, right? When licensing comes about, we will have training and, you know, special courses so that you can get certified and then apply for your license, right? That's a part of the benefits, but that doesn't exist right now. So you can get general courses, but when you talk about a very specific market like Belize, it's better to work with someone that's been doing it for a few years, right? You can work as an agent, gain your experience, and then seek to become your own broker, right?
Yeah, that's how it goes in a lot of other countries as well, you know, where people, before you can, you know, have your own brokerage, that you have to have a 1 year or 2 year kind of internship, but full-time working, but, you know, working for another broker to, you know, go through the in and outs of the whole industry.
Training, and then you usually get a license too, right?
Well, the license still doesn't exist because that's what the bill is going to create. That's the platform for that, right? But it's coming. So, you know, it will be there.
The dialogue is there with the government, attorneys are reviewing it, and we're really trying to push it forward to become a regulated industry. Yeah, absolutely.
And so definitely, I mean, we have a lot of Belizeans living abroad who tune in. They want to know where they should go so they can access your registry of real estate brokers and how they know they'll be in safe hands.
Yeah, that's the whole purpose of it,
So you have a website?
We do.
AREBB, AREBB.com, AREBB.com. You get information there, phone number, email, in case you have any questions, any inquiries, we'll be happy to assist you.
Yep, and the contact information from individual agents and brokers from around the country is there on the website as well.
And you do work together, so even if I choose one, I know
That's
that there's
the
going
whole
to be
point.
some kind of communication that takes place.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and having this conversation with us, telling us about the work that your association has been doing.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thanks for
Thank you
having us.
very much for inviting us.
All right.
All right, and so we'll take a break, and when we come back, we have Remar in the house with us, and so you don't want to miss that conversation. Stay tuned.